Good morning. I bet you could think of somebody that you just can't wait to have a conversation with. The people that just feel inviting and that listen and that you just could lose your day having a conversation with this person. That's what we're talking about today, a little bit of conversational know-how, getting warm conversations going. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tim from Plugged Into Leadership, your outlet for leadership success. I got my Tea with Tim mug with my nice warm tea in it. We're going to be talking about warmth. So grab your mug, grab something warm. Here we go. All right. There was a study in 2007 by a Yale professor named John Barr, that's Bargh, and he noticed some pretty interesting things were going on with people when they held warm cups of coffee or they had warm packs in their hands. So he conducted the series of studies that was fascinating, by the way. If you ever get a chance to check it out, go ahead and check it out. Yale, John Barr is his name. And he noticed that people that would hold warm packs as they answered a series of questions answered them much more favorably. Another thing that he noticed is that when there was a fictitious person and they gave a list of characteristics about this fictitious person to a series of executives, a number of different executives, and what they noticed was that the only word in the two different lists that were changed was one had the word cold in the list and the other list had the word warm in the list. And everybody that had cold on their list said that they would not trust that person. They knew nothing else about them except for the other 6 words that were on the list. And just the one word that was different was warm or cold. So we have this natural propensity, if you will, to view warmth as trusting. So if you're find yourself not having very good conversations, or you know that you need to go into a conversation that could necessarily be a little bit sticky or a little bit gooey, you want to try to prime that conversation the best that you can. It's where we get this idea from having a cold shoulder, and we want to warm up our conversations. It's one of the reasons that I challenge you every single morning to start your day with something warm and a warm conversation with me on Tea with Tim. It's one of the reasons I love tea, starting my day off with tea. We got a great group this morning. Good morning, everybody. We're talking about getting ready to have some maybe possibly tough conversations. So one of the things that we can do to help prime our conversations, the important conversations in life, is we can take a look at the environment or the physical space and make it more favorable for the conversation. We can start and look at the surrounding context, and we wanted to make it feel warm rather than cold. And one of the things that can make it feel warmer rather than colder is to sit at a round table. So if you're going to have a conversation with somebody and you know it could get a little bit rocky, do your best to sit at a round table. Something as simple as that can help make the conversation feel a bit warmer. The idea of having long rectangular tables where there's a head, and that can really change the dynamic of the conversation. But a round table is going to make it feel a little bit warmer. It helps promote this idea of warmth. The other thing that you can do before you start a conversation is you can build rapport. You can have a nice conversation before you start, something that increases trust. You can buy them a nice cup of warm tea or warm coffee and give that to the person. I've done this before. I've gone into meetings where I wanted to make a positive impression, sat in a comfortable seat, stopped at Starbucks, gave the person a nice, brilliant cup of Starbucks, nice warm, and they just held it in their hands as we talked, and man, the conversation just went really well. Good morning to all of those that are on Facebook Live this morning. Wayne, Jenna, Darren, Dave, Megan, all of you, good morning, good morning. We're talking about warm and cold conversations. If you've had these warm or cold conversations, you can think of a time when you had a conversation that was really great. There was probably something going on that helped create this idea of warmth in the conversation. See, we have this idea of fear and apprehension and uncertainty when we're going into a conversation that could be very, very difficult. And so what we want to try to do is we want to try to warm up the conversation, sitting at a round table, getting them a warm drink, maybe sitting in a comfortable seat. Those things are really going to help the conversation. The other thing, and the last thing that you can do, is we can go through a self-awareness checklist. The self-awareness checklist. Here's your self-awareness checklist for conversations that you are going to have. Are you withdrawing or excluding others as you go into this conversation? Is there somebody else that needs to be in the room? Are you exemplifying this idea of being closed off and excluding others, withdrawing from the conversation? It's going to be very difficult for you to have a nice, warm, open conversation where you're building trust and getting the things that you need on the table if you enter in the conversation withdrawn and exclusive to the conversation. The other thing you can ask yourself, are you defensive and reactive to the setting and the context? Is there territorialism? Is that going to emerge? Do you need to meet on neutral ground? Someone invites you into their office. Do you say, hey, can we meet in the conference room instead? Can we meet at Starbucks? Can we meet in a neutral location to kind of just make sure that we're not having any kind of defensive or reactive setting or response to the setting that we're in? So we're going to try to eliminate some of that stuff. This is just for you. The next question on your self-awareness checklist before you enter into this conversation is, how can you shift your mindset from an exclusion to inclusive and set up a new context so that it's open and trusting for the conversation? What are some things that you can do? Can you change your mindset? Can you shift how you're thinking about the conversation in order to make that more inclusive? And then that invites trust. So those are some things that you can do to build trust with warmer conversations. That comes from this Yale study. I thought it was a fascinating study. More information about that can be found in Judith E. Glazer's book, Conversational Intelligence, in Chapter 7, if you get a chance to check that out. As always, we had a wonderful winner last week for our resource drawing. And you can check this thing out called Tea with Tim on Facebook Live. Again, good morning to everybody on Facebook Live. You can also check it out on YouTube, or you can download it as a podcast. And if you share this or write a review or leave a positive comment or do a thumbs up, you can be entered into our free weekly resource drawing. We have a number of interviews coming up. There's an interview on Wednesday this week. Andy Kerr will be next week. Emma's Footprints is this Wednesday. I'm going to be interviewing the leadership team from Emma's Footprints on Wednesday. Andy Kerr will be next week. And then in May, we're going to jump off to do 2 interviews a week. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to be having interviews. So look at that. I'm also excited for some other things that are coming up, but shh, they're a secret. So we won't talk about that quite yet. But as those things unfold, I'll let you know. Thank you so much for joining me today. Grab that cup of coffee, buy someone for somebody else, grab your cup of tea, get a cup of tea for somebody else. Before you have a tough conversation, hand them that cup of tea, and it's really going to help set the mood for your great conversation. Appreciate you. You are a leader, and we want to see you back here tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you then. Bye.